Part 2 of talking about how I got my period back for the first time today, naturally in over 3 years. Like I said, where I left off, I started to research hypothalamic amenorrhea, a term that I was unfamiliar with. I learned that it can be caused by excessive stress, whether that be mentally or whether it be physically through overtraining, paired with underfueling. So being in that calorie deficit for just a little bit too long. Like I said, I am an online fitness coach myself, and my best friend is my coworker, and she was my coach through my weight loss training. So started to talk to her about it, and we went back and we looked through all my numbers, and all my numbers were perfect. Like, I was never in a crazy deficit. I was always getting enough protein. I was eating an appropriate amount. On paper, losing less than a pound a week, which, like, healthy weight loss progress can be anywhere from 0.5 to 1.0 pound per week on average. I was actually kind of under that. So it makes total sense that this kind of snuck up on us. But nonetheless, like I said, IVF was getting closer to reality. I knew I didn't want to do it, so I started to look into this even more and actually take it seriously. I left for Europe in August of 2025, and I told myself that I'm going to go away to Europe, I'm not going to track, and then when I get home, I'm still not going to track. That was going to be like the start of a new thing for me. I've always tracked my food. Even when I've been at maintenance, I've tracked my food just to make sure that I'm hitting my macros in terms of keeping that ideal body size and ideal body composition. But I thought, okay, maybe I just need to eliminate the stress of tracking. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to start with that. I stopped tracking. I haven't tracked since then. It's now January of 2026. But even through not tracking, it almost made me even more aware of food, because I was so worried about going over my numbers and gaining a few pounds or not looking a certain way. So say that lasted about a month, and then I started to do a little bit more research on HA. I started following a couple of different Instagram accounts of fertility dietitians who specialize in HA, and I learned that, like, okay, all of this food noise and like the stress around food is stress in itself. So this is not helping the situation. I had a bit of an epiphany, and I don't really get many epiphanies in life, I feel, but I had an epiphany. I think I read it somewhere, I heard it on a podcast or something, but it was like, your body is never trying to steer you wrong. Your body is trying to protect you. Trust your body. If you can't trust your body, then what can you do? That thought started to spiral me into, like, okay, when I'm a mom, what do I want my kids to see? I don't want to have to rely on MyFitnessPal. I don't want to have to rely on using a food scale. I want to be able to intuitively eat as a mom and not be stressed about it. I started to do exactly that. I did start to notice some body changes, not necessarily in a way that I was super thrilled about. I started to notice myself putting on a couple of pounds, and from there I kind of started to panic, not gonna lie, but then I just had to keep coaching myself and reminding myself, like, okay, it's 5 pounds. What's more important? Getting my cycle back with those 5 pounds, or keeping those 5 pounds off? Like, it was a no-brainer for me after that. Also, I thought, girl, you want to be pregnant? Like, you're about to put on 50 pounds maybe. Like, you need to be okay with this. It was a huge mindset challenge for me, but I knew it needed to be done, so I kept intuitively eating. Between the months of October until December, I put on about 10 pounds total. Body image issues were going crazy. It's very hard to be an online fitness trainer and work in an industry where you're supposed to showcase your body when you're not necessarily proud of your body in that given moment. So then I had another mindset shift, and I had to really teach myself, like, okay, this is my pre-pregnancy body. This is my healing body. This is my fertile body. It might not be the same body that I was in when I was my leanest and my strongest, but as we age, our body ages with us and things need to change, and this is my woman body. That kind of helped give me a little bit of mental cushion to, like, be okay with all of it. So, recap. We're intuitively eating, we're changing our mindset, we're not being as stressed at the fact that we are putting on weight, so we're kind of just like leaning into all of this. I did start to get some symptoms, which was promising. Oh, also through all of this, I think since June of 2025, I've been doing acupuncture once a week or once every other week, and I would get acupuncture like for fertility, basically. And then in combination with that, I was also doing some red light therapy. The light would go like right over my lower pelvic area, and the idea of it was to stimulate fertility. Now we're like right before Christmas-ish. I'm starting to get some symptoms. One thing I noticed, if you're a boy, if you haven't already exited this video, you're gonna want to kindly leave now. One thing I noticed first would be my cervical mucus and discharge started to change, started to look a little different than I was used to. I also started to notice my libido increase a little bit, which was great. And then the other thing that I noticed, my boobs started to hurt, which I have not had a symptom of being a girl for as long as I can remember. And I did tell the doctor that when I went for the first time, like, I feel like I have low estrogen or something, because like, even when I was on birth control and getting periods once a month, my boobs never hurt. I never had cravings. I never had cramps. I never had any of that. So I wonder if something's wrong. Boobs were hurting. I wouldn't say I was having cravings, but then I started to have cramps. So I knew something was working with what I was doing with adding more food, but a couple months passed by and there was still no period. So then I went from following a couple people on social media, like I said, to then listening to their podcasts. And honestly, this is what I needed, because I was able to hear like real life experiences and examples of not only the dietitian themselves, but then also clients that they have worked with. And I swear every episode that I listened to, I was like, that is me. That is so me. That is my situation. I started to feel very seen, very heard, very validated, just confident that I'm on the right path with this. There's one missing piece that I realized I was missing. That was the overtraining. I was still exercising. I normally would, and fueling before my workouts. I started to take down the intensity of my workouts. I started to eat something before my workouts in the morning, even just like 2 pieces of turkey bacon or something. And I've been doing that for about 3 weeks. And in combination with all of these things, also, I went to therapy for the first time. I do think that plays a role, because I do think the mental load does play a role. So I started going to therapy, I started eating more, I started working out less intensely, I started eating before my workouts, and then I started eating at least something every 3 hours, even if it was something small, just to remind my body like, hey, there's food here, you're safe, you're in a good spot to reproduce. And then today, for the first time, I woke up with a natural period. I have learned through listening to these podcasts and doing my research that unfortunately this is very commonly misdiagnosed, or rather not diagnosed at all, because I never was underweight. I never fit that perfect stereotype. Because of that, I almost went through a round of IVF. I could literally talk about this for 5 more videos. So if you have any more questions, let me know. I'm so happy to help, because like I said, this is so unknown and it's a problem.